A very good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the second half of the NPL New South Wales men's season. Wet and wintry conditions to greet us at sodden Seymour Shore with the Sutherland Sharks hosting Spirit FC on your Saturday afternoon. Alex Molchanoff, delighted to be along with you on the Football New South Wales YouTube channel. Those conditions that have greeted us here, quite the change from the heat that underlined the first meeting between these two back in February. David Perkovic's first competitive fixture in charge of his new club against his old one fell in favour of the Premiers. And so Spirit visit here with their eyes set on finals football again, but struggling to find the back of the net. The new look front three of Petratos, Shoki and Kobayashi haven't hit the back of the net between them in the last month, and they've been held scoreless in 3 of their last 4. Now they'd love to have Takumi Ifuka back, although maybe there's even a caveat to that thought. One of the Sharks off-season glamour signings has played every game, but is yet to find the back of the net in the league in Sky Blue, after scoring 12 times for Spirit last campaign. Storylines and crossover are plenty. There's a bit of team news to bring you as well. Sutherland have made a couple of changes out of their 2-2 draw with the SD Raiders last weekend. Back in from injury comes Danny Choi in place of Tarek Meyer in midfield. Lachlan McDonald inserted in place of the suspended Brendan Gann. We're assuming that Perko will go back to a back 5 today, but that could all unfold very differently, as we've seen many times before. For Spirit, 4 changes after their 3-0 defeat by Marconi a week ago. In come Brady Smith, Corey Kavanagh for his first starts since returning from stress fractures in both of his feet. Khan Nizam replaces Shoki Yoshida, and Stavros Zerpes gets the first start of the league season, with Daito Hirakoshi out through injury. A matchup that's provided its fair share of drama since Spirit's promotion. Even last year as champions, they couldn't do the double against the relegation-threatened Sharks. The latter positions are much closer in proximity this time around. An occasion that promises drama, healthy crowd in despite the weather, and our referee Noah Moss is ready to get us underway. Sutherland in their sky blue. In these soggy conditions, can they find a different result to the one that landed against them after 90 minutes against this opponent last time? Drama was a viral moment that saw Spirit's thought-to-be star striker Callum Keeley stood down by the club. He's yet to return. They've managed to find their way to go without him in the meantime through the opening few months of the season, but that has flipped slightly, that narrative, in the last month or so. Defeat by Marconi, more worrying than the result, was a pretty underwhelming performance from Sergio Malfaro's perspective. It's not something his team have produced too often in his tenure. Hope you're enjoying the that broadcast position here at Seymour Shore as well. Just a great view of the grandstands and all the liveliness around the precinct. Just need the football team to find a little bit more consistency at home. They've managed the 3 victories here versus 4 losses. Form at this ground has turned slightly from the poor start they had here. Saw them lose games against the likes of Sydney United, St George FC in very close games. The Western Sydney Wanderers was a low lights before convincing victories over Manly and Rockdale the last couple of times out here, before that defeat last weekend by Marconi. Jordan Perez is getting forward from left back. That's where they want him, in those attacking areas. Spirit know the value he can offer in that area of the pitch, as he did in between intermittent injury for them in the Premiership campaign a year ago. How much will the absence of Brendan Gann affect them today? Through suspension after picking up a 5th booking. of the early season. Got Tarek Maya fortunately starting to welcome some players back. Danny Choi was back off the bench after spending some time out with injury last weekend. He returns to the starting side today. Does look as though Sutherland have stuck with a back four in the early stages anyway, with Yanni Nicolau pushing into midfield. Slightly different role. Donald has offered plenty when he's played going forward. He's got a couple of goals this campaign. Spirit still very set in their principles. They've gone to a back four. Brady Smith returning to the starting lineup today. Missed the Australian Championship through injury. It started the beginning of the new NPL season before injury struck again. Here's Nizam and Alawalia, partnered by Kavanagh in the heart of midfield today, and one finds the other. It's Corey Kavanagh cutting it back for Nizam. Fantastic start for Spirit, only thwarted by a goal line block. And Kukuryu heads away. Alawalia and Kavanagh being deployed together by Sergio Malfarra, and I'm sure that's exactly what he would have been looking for. Both players who are terrific athletes as well as technicians, able to get into attacking areas and provide spark like Kavanagh did there. Some attacking setup from Spirit in the early stages. Just lining up with four in the forward line. Serpes getting a rare start today. He's hassled and hurried over the touchline by Perez. Grant Cornwall shifting to right back for Spirit today, with Kyle Williams dropping to the bench. Nicholas having to get back there. Richard Shuiki's had some fun against this opponent in his young career. Dropped it off for Choi. His effort blocked. And the all-action start we expected has so far eventuated. Serpes too strong initially for Kukuryu. Eventually headed off by Perez. You can see Sergio Malfarra pacing his technical area, calling for calm. So much of the story of this fixture this year, though neither of them would like me saying it, is the matchup of Spirit's old coach against the new one. There were some who expected Spirit to drop off with the departure of their coach and a couple of key players, but they signed well. Costa Petratos, Shoki Yoshida and Rico Kobayashi have been the three that have really impressed, but added squad players like Aiden Mustafi and Khan Nizam. We've added to the established core of players like Smith and Marks and Nicholas, all part of that premiership campaign a year ago. And then when you're welcoming back leaders of the club like Corey Kavanagh, it's in a pretty good position heading into the second half of the season, with finals well and truly in sight. Drop-off has been a long way from as sudden as some predicted. Sutherland were touted to head the other way. They found the going rather more difficult than some predicted in pre-season, but all that noise was coming from outside the club rather than internally. As Petratos fires that ball across the face of goal. Nizam happy to see it over the touchline. Petratos holding off Jemi Peszewski. He's right at the centre of that controversial incident back in round one. It's actually okay to return a couple of weeks later, but then did spend some time out with injury. That's a month before being reinstated into the heart of defence. He's got to marshal the troops in front of him at the moment, because Spirit have started with a rush. Nizam tried something clever. Perhaps got a little too tricky for his own good there. Danny Choi's back very deep to lend out a helping hand. Linking up with Olsen, last year's gold medal winner, and that's a poor turnover. Kavanagh! What a return to the starting lineup that would have been. Well, he's been so keen to be involved, Corey Kavanagh, and he was very close to his first league goal of the year. For the second time already this afternoon, we haven't played 8 minutes. Sutherland needing a reaction after a slow start here. Well, McDonald might have given them just what they needed with that sliding challenge. Shwicky's bundled into a corner by Alawalia, and Nicholas happy to pick up the throw for his troubles. Scored at Christie Park against Spirit a year ago. The game that Sutherland were heavy underdogs in. Ricky was in for just his second start as a senior player. In fact, sorry, it was his second senior goal, not his second senior start, but he was playing a bigger role than was expected. Turned out to be a critical point by the end of the season. Nice release from Kavanagh for Serpes. For support. There's not too many yellow shirts around him, and Olsen's tracked him all the way back into the orthodox left back position. It's all looking a bit chaotic in terms of where players are turning up for Sutherland at the moment. Olsen trying to be the outlet, playing in behind Shwicki as he has for the last few weeks, but being dragged a lot deeper into his own defensive line than I'm sure he or his coach would like. And Nicolau couldn't hold up Costa Petratos without having a hold of his shirt. His argument to referee Moss is that he was having his shirt held as well. Probably not the most unjust argument. He'd be doing well to not talk himself into further trouble. Well and truly getting his point across, and that noise is Daniel Nizic, the skipper, yelling at his central midfielder today to give up the argument and join the wall that is being set up. Jordan Perez on the end of that wall scored a very similar free kick against Daniel Nizic at Christie Park a year ago. This time it's Zayn Alawalia entrusted with the responsibility, and Nizic happy to watch it wide of his post, never really threatened. Just a moment's respite for the hosts. Hasn't been the start they were searching for. Longer pass, yes, but another one missing its target. Pouring rain through Sydney, basically since midday today. It's looking as though it's not going to relent either. It's led to a lovely playing surface out there. Spirit are making the better use of it in the early stages of this game. Round 16, the fixture has turned over. Everybody's played each other twice. Sutherland 9th, Spirit 7th, heading into the afternoon. Such as the closeness of the table that Sutherland are not completely immune from the relegation dogfight. It really is that at the moment. They sit just 3 points ahead of Blacktown City coming into the afternoon's action. A win could take them within a point of Spirit up in the top half, though. As for their visitors, they would jump Sydney FC at least for 24 hours with a win here. The game against SD Raiders this weekend's been postponed, so it might well be a little bit longer than that. Young Sky Blues will have a game in hand, but who knows just how many players they'll have retained. The A-League contracting window comes up at the end of the month. Senior team have a rather important game to be played later this afternoon over in Auckland. Nicely negotiated by Brady Smith, just not able to keep the ball in play, which draws a cheer from the grandstand on the far side. Smithy's bar, just above the goal of Chris Marks, is packed to the rafters, as it always is now on Saturdays. This does such a good job, as I'm sure you get sick of us commentators repeating. It's a notable effort. It's going to be a blueprint for a lot of NPL clubs in terms of community engagement. That made everybody such a big part of the event here, week on week. Team starting to show a little bit more grit after that initial 10-minute period as well. To battle their way out of their own penalty area at least. Mentioned the draw they got against Spirits Christie Park a couple of weeks ago. Got a win there the year before. It's a critical one in another relegation scrap. Managed a 3-1 victory on a Tuesday night. The conditions like this had postponed a round 17 game to be played later. It's a rather sleepy evening with a crowd that wouldn't have been a quarter of the size in tonight. That is in at Seymour Shore today. It's a very critical fixture in Sutherland's season and keeping them up. They've got defending to do here. Kobayashi broke the line but couldn't deliver the cross. There's a chance for some quick thinking and clever feet from Takumi Afuka. He's happy to press his old teammate Brady Smith right out to play and win the free kick for his team, or the throw in for his team as well, I should say. Rain getting heavier and heavier. It'll be interesting to see just how well this synthetic holds up. Could be verging on puddles. You don't tend to get them with these much better Astros nowadays. One at Seymour Shore only recently resurfaced. And on 15 minutes there's a chance from an attacking set piece. Plenty crowded around Marks, waiting for the delivery. It's well judged. Cornwall rising above the pack inside the 6-yard area to clear. Kuryu, the taker, managing to retain possession. Crossball ball from Perez, cut out by Simon Nicholas, and away comes Khan Nizam. 20-year-old winger was a regular starter early in the season, and less so over the last 6 weeks or so. Petratos. Clash of styles today is notable as well. Two teams that want to dominate possession. This makes it a real arm wrestle. Both teams want to get set in their structures and try and break down the opposition proactively. Smith. Cerves. Kavanagh is finding a lot of space in that area, about 25-30 yards from goal. Sloppy touch from Petratos. It's not something we often say about him. Allowed Alton to nick the ball off him and release Schwecki. Watched step by step by Cornwall. Again, the ball slides over that far touchline. Another player that David Perkovich has been keen to talk about getting back is Riley Hollingdale, again featuring on the bench after getting back to competitive action. The talking point around the competition is some of the injuries with the extended seasons some players went through at the end of last year, the addition of the Australian Championship. Long campaigns if you finish as the top non-automatic qualifier. Shuiki and Cornwall come together again, and the decision is corner. Shuiki thought he might have had a free kick because of the wrestling match with his more experienced opponent. There's a word to Grant Cornwall as he passes by. Noel Moss right on the spot, certainly. Passing comment from those two. Kokoryu over to take a second set piece in a matter of minutes. Curling high. This one draws marks from his goal. Well, as Nicolau got the telling touch, although it didn't have the direction he wanted on it. Petratos copped a bit of a bludgeoning in the first game between these two, but managed to get the goal that decided the game. Fixture is following a similar pattern as Olsen just waits on the ball for a moment longer than he should have. Bailed out by Perez. Riga Kobayashi is always a danger. Disappointing from a spirit perspective only to have one of he and Shoki Yoshida today. Sharks' protests against the free kick were vehement, but it's a fairly straightforward decision from here. Kavanagh rolling the ball for Cornwall. You can see Sergio Malfara directing traffic in the background of your shot there. Smith. Kavanagh. Oh, he's picked out Kobayashi, but the flag's up. Beautifully weighted pass from the 24-year-old to pick out his Japanese winger. That's he who's looked the real danger, along with Kavanagh, for Sergio Malfara in the early stages here. Golson dropping deeper and deeper, trying to get his foot on the ball. There's long for Choi, away by Nicholas. Olsen goes another long punt. This one gave Perez something to chase, but even with his athleticism and wit, couldn't prevent it from going behind for a goal kick. Welcome to you if you're joining us from the NSW versus Sydney United game. Turn up of the form book somewhat. NSW yet to lose at the Village Green, and they've managed to claim all 3 points against Sydney United after pushing them at Adenta Park in the opening round of the season. Jordan Harb's goal, the highlight of that game, before they added a second deep into stoppage time. It's a game with implications now for Sutherland. It's pushed them above them into the top half of the table on the live ladder. Just 3 adrift of Spirit FC if this result was to hold, and that would be good enough to see the visitors into the top 6, as we mentioned. And Richard Shuiki's got to be really careful here. He's been frustrated with a couple of decisions that haven't gone his way. It's very unnecessary bit of contact with Simon Nicholas, all considered. Noel Moss just making that point to him. Don't want to take away his fire. It's part of what makes him such an exciting player to watch. But to maintain his discipline as well. Sutherland as a whole could take on some of that advice as they turn the ball over in their own half again. Kavanagh's delivery is a dangerous one, and McDonald forced to turn the ball behind. In front of Nizic, who was waiting for the shot. There were no real yellow shirts in there. McDonald wasn't to know that. Spirit, who've had control of the opening quarter of this game without creating a clear-cut opportunity. Can he play provider here? Similar tactics to the one the Sharks are using down the other end. Nizic, he's one of the tallest goalkeepers in the competition, though. He uses his size to crash through the crowd of bodies in front of him. The feature of the latest episode of Sharks documentary they're putting out on YouTube at the moment. Terrific story, Daniel Nizic. In this competition, known for his success at Sydney United and being in goal for their Australia Cup run to the final. He's rather tighter in his work in that run than he was there. Hero in the shootout, but he is a Sharks junior. Returned into the club after a decade away last season. Quickly taken on a leadership role. Nicholas lining up from a very long way out. He's got that in his locker. We saw it during the championship. Scored a screamer back in October. That was a while ago now. And that one not hit with quite the same direction or venom. Actually hasn't scored in the NPL for Spirits in his 3 league seasons at the club. He's been doing a lot of that hard running. He's having a rather isolated figure. Probably more isolated than David Perkovic would like at this stage. Kobayashi's got the better of Van Amerongen early, but ball just trickling over that wet touchline. Skidding across the artificial turf. Tratos with Kuchevsky in his back, and then went to ground trying to win the ball off Olsen and conceded the free kick. Oh, Nick Olsen, what is going on there? I would say very fortunate that the referee has allowed him to retake that. Probably because the Spirit players were still inside the 10 yards. Hasn't quite looked himself today, Nick Olsen. Here's McDonald. Kavanagh. He's been the standout in his return to Spirit's starting sides. Kobayashi was blocked off by Pachevsky right in front of the referee. And he saw not enough contact to blow the whistle, which has really got the Spirit bench up in arms. And there's a sharing of words between the two coaches. Pachevsky often the lead antagonist for Sutherland. Noah Moss saw nothing doing there. Left the Japanese start in a heap on the floor. It's just going to be a drop ball and no further free kick. In fact, it might change here because the referee has gone to consult with his fourth official. That's Nicholas Damascus over there. I wonder whether he spotted something that referee Moss missed. Just a footballing contact by the looks of things. Kobayashi, thankfully, is back to his feet. Jamie Pachevsky will make the point that he's put in rather firmer challenges than that over his career, but that was not the view of the Spirit players. His former teammate Corey Kavanagh having a stern word or so. Premiers together a year ago, adversaries today. Sergio Malfaro is usually one of the cooler heads on the touchline, but any coach sees a star player laid out like that, particularly one who's trying to negotiate different injury problems that Spirit have at the moment. Doesn't want to see a player checked off the ball, legal or not. And another one let go, this one drawing the ire of the Sharks fans. Takumi Ifuka had a whistle turned away rather than blown. It's a game with a history of sending offs as well, so Noah Moss has that information available to him, but it can liven up, and Petratos into it, challenge heavily again. Put plenty of the ball, which has probably saved him any further sanction, but this game is not far shy of boiling point at the moment. Real feeling between these two sets of teams because of all the storylines we've brought you in the opening half hour or so here, or just shy of that. Wondered if that feeling might have dampened somewhat halfway through the season. Doesn't look to be the case. For two teams who are capable of such attractive football, have been rather engaged in a different type of drama. The opening half hour. McDonald trying to put the focus back on the football. His delivery is too deep. Perez trying to keep it in play. Again, the ball skidding off the turf and escaping his clutches. It's a chaotic game that Sutherland played down at Ernie Smith Reserve a week ago. Brendan Gann was, in the eyes of some, very fortunate not to be sent off, but Yakov Malbasa managing to give SD Raiders a second from Gann's, well, we'll call it a save. Colson missed a penalty. It's all happening down there, and this game is setting up for a similar narrative arc as the rain continues to pour down, and Petratos puts the ball into the box, falls for Kavanagh. His third shot of the afternoon. This one blocked away, and Olsen can get his team going in transition. Helped over by Cornwall. The whistle goes. Cries for a card from the crowd, and this time the referee obliges. Cornwall, the first name taken. What has been a very fiery first 30 minutes. Olsen has stayed down clutching his shoulder, which is not a great sign either. Firstly, yes, because of the promising nature of the attack that he and Danny Choi had put together, but for his further well-being, Daniel Nizic has gone over to the touchline just to have a word with the assistant referee rather than his coach, although David Perkovic is eavesdropping on all of that. Wet day, not a particularly cool day here in Sydney, temperatures still up around the 20 degrees. Manny Nicolau has had some problems with the back. You can see him in shot there, just stretching that out as well, which won't encourage Sharks supporters. Both coaches have had the ear of the fourth official, the assistant, each other over the course of this game so far. And just reminding you as well, if you missed the day's very early action, a 2:15 kickoff out at the Village Green, NSW knocking off Sydney United, which has just opened the door for Marconi and Apia ahead of their Derby d'Italia clash tomorrow. Apia now could sit top of the ladder above both their direct rivals, should they win that one at Lambert Park tomorrow. They've fallen to Marconi in both of their last two fixtures. Olsen using a little bit of nous there, just drawing Costa-Bertrados out to try and block, and knocking it into his trailing arm. Which might set up Sutherland's best opportunity of the first half. Daniel Nizic has made his way all the way up from goal. He's been everywhere, the goalkeeper. Love to see his heat map over the opening half hour of this game. It's a long way out. You see the five-man wall for Chris Marks, a good 5 yards outside the area. Still Olsen will go for it, and referee Moss has blown up something here. There was a grab from Simon Nicholas on Yanni Nicolau. A foul before the free kick was taken, so they'll get a do-over here. Now there's an allegation being thrown out that the Spirit will have stolen a couple of yards. Olsen has a second crack, deflection. And it was actually off Van Amerongen, I think. Well, an inventive effort from the big Dutchman to try and turn that ball on target. Not quite successful. A pretty good record over his last couple of years of football in Australia. Thijs Van Amerongen signed for Sutherland in the summer from Dandenong Thunder. Seemed to be lesser for his absence down in Victoria. They're embroiled in a relegation scrap of their own this season. That's got a couple of goals since making the move up to New South Wales. Kavanagh with the enterprising run. Eventually held up by Pachevsky. Bertrados playing it off Van Amerongen and winning his side a corner this time. Thought about going short, but considering the weather conditions, so the more sensible option is just to launch it into one of those tall figures. Mustafi, Smith in a line, Smith the intended target. Now a chance for Sutherland to go on counter-attack. Fuka seemed to take a touch more than he would have liked. Nicolau's had it down for McDonald. Nicolau enjoying the little bit more license he's had to get forward in the last 5 minutes. Kokuryu. Van Amerongen. Fuka dispossessed, but the ricochet falls to Perez. And now Olsen. This is the man they want with the ball at his feet, Sutherland. Looking up with a Fuka, who tried rather speculative back heel. Smith was happy with that result. Van Amerongen thinks he's won the throw, and he's right. Oh. Questionable throw-in from Jordan Perez. Play allowed to continue. And Mustafi with the telling touch, sweeping in front of Nicholas, who is apoplectic that the throw-in wasn't pulled up. It's had a little bit of everything, except clear-cut chances this opening half. It's been a very enjoyable watch. It's been two sets of rather frustrated and combative players. Tratos and Nicolau into the battle this time. Nicolau wins the ball cleanly. Interesting to note that he's moved back into what looks to be the right side of a central defensive three now, Yanni Nicolau. I was talking about the license he had to get forward. Maybe he's stepping forward without tactical instruction. It's certainly a more aggressive pressing role he's taken. Olsen playing the covering role. The first bite in on Nizam. And then Pachevsky into the fight. Mustafi and McDonald and Kavanagh all having their say. Sharks throw at the end of it all. Spirit have lost the ascension they claimed in the opening 10-15 minutes. It really has been the proverbial arm wrestle for the remaining 20 minutes or so that we've seen here. Spirit have found a foothold in the game. It's not to say they've had a heap more of the football, but they've been able to advance it into more promising areas than they were able to do in the opening quarter of an hour. Having said that, Jordan Perez's radar's been a little off. Oh, Kavanagh with a rare. He was probably a little fortunate. He pulled out of the challenge. Nicholas going route one. His old defensive mate, Pashevsky, back in cover. Pashevsky for McDonald. Just a yard or two in front of Danny Choi. Both teams back to their enterprising best in the last 5 minutes. Kobayashi had a little bit of trouble avoiding the linesman's flag in this first half, and it's caught in again there. Clearly a direction to try and get off the shoulder of the Sharks' defence. Is an issue they had more trouble with in the opening couple of months than they've had recently. It just rear its head again last weekend against Marconi. McDonald. The second bite of the cherry with his head. Nicholas half clear. Wilson's flick on. Smith's clearance. Van Amerongen puts his foot on the ball. Perez. That's a gorgeous ball for Nick Olsen. Another centering pass from a Sharks player just out of the reach of the third man runner. Danny Choi quick to escape the scene of his crime, being a little clip of the heels on Simon Nicholas. That's all the action. The rain has just eased slightly to more of a drizzle. It's kept the crowd thoroughly engaged. They've been making good noise with almost every decision. That's been come from the more well lubricated patients up at Smithy's Bar as well. Thoroughly invested on the terrace. Just a healthy but a knowledgeable football crowd, I'd say. Sutherland have been able to attract in 2026. Cornwall's cross behind Nizam. McDonald has been very impressive all season when he's been called upon by David Perkovic, but particularly this afternoon he's been one of those who's been able to keep his head amongst the wild, woolly nature of the game at times. Nicolau. Fuka taken down by a rather crude challenge of Brady Smith, who points at the ball, despite the fact I don't think he got within cooee of it. The slippery turf sending Afuka another yard or so extra as well, helped with the dramatisation of the tackle, but it's only going to be one decision once Smith left his feet. So this is where Sutherland's most fruitful route to goal has been so far this afternoon. Again, Yuta Kukuryu is not happy with the distance that Kobayashi and Nizam have been taken back here in the two-man wall. Choi manages to avoid them and find Van Amerongen. Oh, it came off his foot, it came off his head, and set up beautifully for Chris Marks to pluck it out of the air. Beautifully directed cross from Danny Choi. Like Nizic, so closely associated with another club across town for so long, as he was with Blacktown City. Been a really key pickup for David Perkovic when he's been available this year. Handful of games of A-League experience, 10 years ago now. Surface. Volleyed away by Van Amerongen. Hoisted back by Nicholas, and the big Dutchman is there to head clear again. This is rather better judged, but Nizic sweeping up behind his defence. Nicolau. Not able to find Shuiki. Just gonna question mark over Sutherland. Has been their attacking firepower at different stages this season. Billy Popovic was signed to play that position, was given the number 9 jersey. He's not been able to get himself on the park, and so the ball has been shared around between Olsen and Shuiki, not completely without success, but without a real focal point up front. I think he could turn into that here as he turns and runs and slams the ball off Nicholas onto the merchandise shed. And so Sutherland might have one last chance in the first half to try and break the deadlock here. Ball kids behind the goal trying to rev up the crowd. Danny Choi is over to the near side to swing one last ball in towards Chris Marks in this first half. Deep option again, too deep even for Van Amerongen, who passes harmlessly over the byline. I should say there's exciting options on the bench for both teams as well. Ben Zuru scored the opening goal against Manly United. His first in senior football a few weeks ago. Available for Sergio Malfarra. Tommy Mason did so earlier in the season. Sam Armson, who is a scorer of so many goals, last league campaign for Inter Lions. Available as well today. From a Sharks perspective, I'm sure David Perkovic is thinking about Riley Hollingdale already. Julian Fidele, who had his standout game against Blacktown City. He came off the bench and lit up the night there late in that game. A couple of other attacking options for both teams as well. Serpes sending in this last spirit set piece of the first half. Falls to the feet of Mustafi. And now Petratos. Pashevsky celebrates that as though he'd scored himself. And it's not the half-time whistle. It's more worries about the welfare of Nick Olsen. Well, this could be a real storyline and not a happy one. This is the second time he stayed down behind play. Become somewhat of a talismanic figure for them so far this season. The leading goal scorer with 5 in the league campaign. Well, it's been fire and brimstone. And unfortunately, the opportunities have come in with a bit of a whimper with both sides. But it's tense, it's tight, it's sporting drama here at Seymour Shore. Wilson's back to his feet, which is the most promising sign out of all of that. He's coming for some heavy treatment. Costa Petratos has, from a spirit perspective as well. Both teams have been just as guilty as each other in terms of providing that physicality to the match. We'll deal with the drop ball because Olsen wasn't off the pitch. Now, we can get things back underway. Your guess is as good as mine as to how much extra time we'll see here. Now we've ticked well past the allotted 2 minutes, but most of it was taken up checking on the welfare of Olsen. Well, a struggle at Seymour Shore. It's really the summary of the first half. A struggle to generate opportunities for both teams. A struggle physically as both look to try and get to grips in more than one way with the other. A very tricky first half to officiate for the refereeing crew, amongst a little bit of controversy and theatre. There's no shortage of feeling between these two. Hopefully a little bit more football played between two teams we know are capable of it in the second 45 minutes. But at the break, the start of the second half of the NPL New South Wales season here in the Sutherland Shire. It's the Sharks 0, Spirit 0. Welcome back to Seymour Shore. The second half about to get underway between the Sharks and Spirit. Goalless through the first half and a change at the break. Yuta Kokoryu brought off for Riley Hollingdale, who mentioned David Perkovic might be thinking about. He was. 21-year-old played his first game in 6 weeks last weekend against SD Raiders, upping his minutes in his return from injury. Hopefully, from a Sharks perspective, he can make the telling impact in the second half here. Wrestling resumes, this time Van Amerongen, who wasn't really partaking too much in that, but Kobayashi can bring it out of even the best. And so Spirit have an early opportunity from the set piece. The best both teams looked across the first half was these sort of situations. We're hoping they can bear some more fruits in the second half. Alex Molchanoff along with you on the Football New South Wales YouTube channel. Very wet Sutherland Shire this evening. Feeling like proper footballing weather halfway into the season. Spirit have had good luck at this ground since being promoted back in 2022. Victory here a year ago by 3-1. The goal scorers that night both departed. Michael Conestava now with Apia and Yua Kubo as a standout performer on his way to a move to Hong Kong and Asian Champions League 2 football with his performances at the top of Spirit's attack a year ago. Morich managed to get a late consolation, but Spirit were by far the better team that day. This contest has been a lot closer as we expected, but still in the ascendancy more often than their host tonight. Sergio Malfaro's team resisted the temptation to go to the bench himself at half-time. It's been interesting with the 5 substitutes across world football now. The half-time substitution has become a lot more regular because it gives you another one of those stoppages to use. Make those changes at 4 intervals rather than just the 3 stoppages you get over the course of the 90 minutes to make substitutions. Here's McDonald, impressive in the first half, looking to stretch his legs and get forward. The cross is dangerous, and Nicholas with an awkward sort of clearance, trying to hoist the ball away. Knocked it into his standing leg. Sutherland will be more than happy with the result, a set piece. Danny Choi, it's that rain sweeping across the shore. Delivery from a deep position. Nicholas, who conceded the corner, up to clear. Krzyzewski sharing a laugh as the ball exited the area, I should say. Mizic calls for calm. Hasn't missed a start in league football since joining Sutherland at the start of 2025. Was so crucial for them a year ago. Picked them the team of the year. In his return from A-League football with MacArthur. Such was the standard of his performances in Sydney United kit for 6 seasons. Chris Marks, who's turning into one of the longest serving Spirit players, still remaining. Greg Cornwall, of course, holds that tenure and has done for some time. Marks is tossing up the years of service as well. Had quite as tidy a year as he did in 2025, but behind a defence that has not quite been as stingy. Defence has not been the issue. The underlying issue for Spirit this season has been finding the back of the net, which they've failed to do in 3 of their last 4 league matches. Sutherland themselves a having a rather hard time of it in terms of the last month or so. 6 games without a win after they look to have turned their season form around with those wins over Rockdale and Manly United. And a chance to get forward here. McDonald with a searching cross that brought oohs and ahs from the crowds, but evaded Shuiki. It's been the extent of most of Chris Mark's work so far this evening. It's been in front of him, it's been comfortable. Even Spirit have been looking to go a little bit more direct as this game has worn on. We're very focused on playing through midfield, and all the short passes in the early stages of the first half, that has sort of been wiped away with the weather. Spirit now more intent on keeping the ball, but haven't had a lot of luck in breaking down Spirit's very disciplined defence. Afuka. Hollingdale, a half-time substitute. Under his academy product, flitting the ball out to the right. Back by McDonald for Nicolau. Let's come to Afuka. Surrounded by 4 Spirit players. They know the danger he offers. Hollingdale got the pass away in the nick of time. McDonald slipped as he struck the cross. It's good to see Nick Olsen out there as well. Hasn't been involved in the action, but there was some worries about whether he'd be able to return for the second half. He's tottering around in the centre of midfield at the moment. Keep an eye on him. Still only the one booking to be recorded for either side. That went to Grant Cornwall in the first half. It's been a rather more physical game than that statistic would suggest. Helped by the touch from Hollingdale, bailed him out somewhat and did more than that, has developed into a promising attack. Shuiki couldn't pick out Perez. Nicholas copping a kick from Olsen as he cleared, and Sutherland inviting unhappiness into their lives by letting that ball bounce. And Perez turning the ball away to Stavros Serpes. Now Kavanagh. Oh, he tried the return from Nizam and it just evaded him. Perez well positioned. But this is more the pattern of play we saw in the opening quarter of an hour. Sutherland pegged back in their own half by the quick interplay between Spirit forward players. We've seen less and less of that as the game's worn on. Another coming together off the ball. It's fallen for Kavanagh again. Shevsky just getting a foot in. Petratos was screaming for the ball and then turned it over to Perez. Cornwall and Afuka renewing a rivalry that would have played out plenty of times in training a year ago. And the experience of Grant Cornwall is one out. And the throw. It's a net win for Spirit, all things considered, in that little passage of play. It's been nip and tuck the whole way this game. Been a feature of NPL games so far this season, at least in New South Wales, for late drama to occur. We might be waiting for the final half hour for all the drama here. Serpes' ball. Headed clear initially by Yanni Nicolau. Mustafi. He's got as much talent going forwards as he does athleticism covering defensively. The Spirit left back. Hasn't missed a start since he signed for the club at the beginning of the Australian Championship under 2 different managers. Nizam with a shooting chance. And Nizic diving for his post. Skidding across that slick turf quickly enough to have the Sharks skipper worried. Thankfully, from a Sharks perspective, just the wrong side of the post. Got the ability, Khan Nizam. Hasn't scored so far this season. He's a teammate of Hollingdale for a little while at the Western Sydney Wanderers Academy. Came through a very talented Sydney FC Academy side a few years ago. The underage ranks. Haven't seen too much of him in the last couple of months. Team with Matthias McAllister, Kaya Williams' brother Tyler, and Alex Savadinos, who's now started to appear on A-League benches every now and then. Run goes the Sharks' way. Choi. Ball set up for Hollingdale, who does get the shot away. It was just bouncing, wouldn't sit for him, Riley Hollingdale. Good bit of skill to give himself the opportunity, but the ball wasn't really cooperating, was it? And the ball flies high and wide of Mark's net. Sepes with Perez all over him. Schweiky not able to evade Brady Smith, hasn't he? Looked such a natural addition to the heart of midfield of defence tonight for Spirit. Mustafi's turnover. Choi takes it up, and Mustafi recovered. The crowd stood in anticipation. They haven't had too many moments like that tonight. Ed Mustafi almost handed them one. I wonder if how loud it can get at this ground now. There's some explosion of joy if they score. Jordi Perez has got the fans involved here. One of the Sharks supporters using his shirt as a towel to help out the Sharks left back. That's as NPL as you'll get. Didn't really help with the purchase on the throw, though. Afuka takes up the attack. Well, you want real football, homegrown. You just saw it with Jordan Perez. Let's see if he brings this supporter in to help out again. He wasn't happy enough with the drying job. Now he's going to take it into his own hands this time. It's Jordy. Goodness me. Well, not quite nodded away by Kavanagh. One of the brighter moments of the night, that. Give me a little chuckle. Perez brought down by Kobayashi. The challenge was fair, though, said the referee. And to Perez's credit, it wasn't too much of an appeal either. Donald clearing the half danger, a clear shove from Mustafi, and there's a substitute being readied down there by Sergio Malfara and his coaching staff. Looks to be the figure of Benturu, but we'll confirm that. In fact, it's Owen Henderson. He's up ready to be brought on, so it's a defensive-minded change if that's the route they go. We'll to see how that all unfolds as the hour mark slips towards us. It's a good take-up by Kavanagh. He was hauled back by Nicolau, and I think Yanni, who has trod a fine line so far this evening, is now going to be booked. First yellow card of the night going to a Sharks player. It's Grant Cornwall, who had his name taken in the first half. Some consternation about the position of the free kick. Tell you what, I didn't see Ron Benturu is up there as well. It's looking as though it's going to be a double change for Serge Malfara. 11 out there continuing for now as Mustafi gets forward. Aiden Mustafi. Kobayashi's ball towards Petrados, away by Van Amerongen, and then it's Alawali has turned to bundle over Hollingdale. This sort of niggle had faded out of the game at the start of the second half. It has re-announced itself with about half an hour to play. The rain has subsided. Perhaps that's the reason for the Heats sneaking back into the action on the field. And maybe it's just one of those lines us commentators like. Good challenge from Cornwall on Ofuka. Those two coming together regularly. Nice interplay between Spirit as Kobayashi's away. Releases Serpes. Ball's not bad either. Nizam had it taken off his toe, I reckon, by McDonald. He won't want credit for the clearance, and he doesn't get it because the throw-in's been awarded to Sutherland. Perhaps there was no touch amongst all of that. And now the double change does arrive. So Brady Smith getting through an hour on his return to starting football. Great to see from a Spirit perspective. And I'll tell you what, it's Sam Armson who is actually being brought on along with Owen Henderson. So Armson goes into the heart of midfield in place of Alawalia. Henderson now to partner Simon Nicholas in the centre of Spirit's defence. Tratos was trying the flick on, didn't pull it off. He's tried a lot, Kostova Tratos, tonight. He's just not been able to find that telling piece of play. Because he signed here at Sutherland at the start of last season, played all of 30 minutes before an ACL injury ruled him out of the rest of the year. It's so disappointing. It's a sweet feeling, I'm sure, for some Sharks to see him score against them in the opening round of the season. It's been a very good pickup for Spirit. His first year in a little while without brother Maki, who's making an impact down in Victoria this year. Nicolau not able to pick out the willing run of McDonald. Well, I've been talking about Lachlan McDonald as somewhat the forgotten man, which is probably a little unfair on him. You know, an A-League academy with Bulls a couple of years ago, was terrific in the campaign last year, one of the most consistent performers in a team that really did struggle for the majority of the year. One of the few retained, actually, by David Perkovic and his coaching staff. He's played his part in the team looking up at a different part of the table. Tonight's result's so key for that. Move up into the top half tonight with a win, but they do need all 3 points for that to be the case. Spirit, this point is enough to shift them into the top 6, a point above Sydney FC. This game this weekend against SD Raiders has been postponed because of the weather. Shuiki still full of intent and running. And it's another foul. 3 or 4 times the whistle's been blown against him tonight. Reminder, if you missed that earlier game, NSW pulling off the upset against Sydney United. Couple of games to come later today as well in the NPL New South Wales men's competition. George City taking on Manly United. That game being kicked off at 7:15 down at Penshurst Park. Always throws up drama, that ground. Football fix is not enough between this game and the A-League men's grand final that's coming up. Spirit trying to build something from an attacking throw. They've had the better of their territory in the last 5 minutes. Can they make it pay on the scoreboard? It's been a restless crowd in the second half. Might have something to cheer about here. Henderson with a commanding clearance. Van Amerongen with a risky pass, and it's been picked off by Kavanagh. Not a position he's particularly familiar with. He still did well to shape a shot. Couldn't force a save out of Nizic, with Pashevsky over in cover. A sloppy piece of play from Van Amerongen, though. Player's experienced enough to know better. It's been those defensive lapses. We talked about Spirit's dogged defensive nature at different times this year. Spirit have just had lapses in concentration like that, sprinkled through their matches far too often. David Perkovic trying to encourage his side, get them up and about. He's barely left the touchline in the unrelenting rain this evening. So the same of Sergio Malfaro is readying 2 more changes. Mizic into the night sky. Down on the head of Mustafi. Nicolau returning serve. Choi. Still out there and he's returned from injury. I don't know how many more minutes he's got left in the legs. He couldn't pick out Perez. And Cornwall's driving forwards. Petratos. Harried and hassled and really rugby tackled by Paszewski. That's, whoa, as Petratos returned to his feet and down went Paszewski. Barely lets Costa Petratos out of his sight tonight. Costa experienced enough to have dealt with the attention that a centre-back like Paszewski can mete out at times. Well handled that by the referee, not anything any further develop, just able to manage his way through the incident. So rain has picked up again. So Serpes with a chance to deliver. There's not a huge number of yellow shirts forward. He floats it to the back post. It was well directed. Cornwall crashing in. And a touch from Hollingdale, I think it was, at the back post to turn the ball behind. Quarter of the game left to play. Still feel there's a defining moment coming. Had the air of that this match. Over the front post, Cornwall again the target. Again, Hollingdale tracking him step by step and making a pretty crucial intervention. Choi not able to hold the ball up for Sutherland. Cornwall's delivery, not a bad one. Van Amerongen away. Oh, and then a sloppy piece of play from Nicolau. He's got better ability than he showed there. It's allowed Spirit, I should say, to regroup. Kavanagh trying to unpick the lock with something delicate. Hollingdale brutally through the back of Armson. Ball falls in Spirit's favour. It's been the case for the last 5 minutes or so. This game has really just flitted in terms of momentum between the two combatants. Petratos who's drifted out to the left. His pass blocked off by McDonald, and now Spirit could be away. Sutherland, I should say, in transition. Afuka. Olsen. Shuiki's off the shoulder, but he's offsides. To the frustration of supporters around the grounds, but looks fairly obvious from our broadcast position. Disciplined line being held by the Spirit defence again. A session of 20 goals across their first 15 games. When you compare that to Sutherland's, tell you what, the numbers aren't a heap different for the comparison. So that's Kavanagh's last action of this game. Very bright return to Sergio Malfaro's starting 11. Promising signs, but not the end result tonight. The same for Serpes, who has been lively in a rare start. Andre Takami, the replacement for Kavanagh, with the enthusiasm and youth of Benduru. The Gladesville Hornsby Jr. taking that central striking role alongside Costa Petratos for the final 20 minutes or so. Cornwall searching for him with that long ball. Nicolau above him to clear. Hollingdale through the downpour and clear of danger. Perkovic just calling for his team to move the ball a little bit more quickly. Caution will slowly go to the wind. This has been a display of defensive resilience and physicality from both teams for the game's majority. Spirit have provided the measure of the attacking impetus. It's not to say Sutherland haven't had chances, they have, but yet to force a meaningful save out of Chris Marks as we tick into the final 20 minutes. Not sure how much cover those umbrellas are providing. Right behind Aidan Mustafi to the few patrons still braving the weather from places that aren't under cover around this football ground. It's Noel Moss's second game that he's officiated recently. Sutherland's in charge of a 1-0 defeat to St George City a couple of weekends ago. I think history doesn't repeat itself here for the Sharks. There's another coming together off the ball, and big cry as Juru looked to come together with, I think it was Van Amerongen behind play. Oh, and now, in fact, there's Pachevsky, who again is involved between a couple and having very firm words with the 18-year-old Juru as he returns to his feet. Now sharing words, I think, with his coach David Perkovic on the sideline. Pachevsky's still going at Juru. Officials will be well aware of what's going on there. Juru, the target of that throw forward, hoisted high into the air by McDonald. Olsen, Petratos, Fuka putting a foot in, fell beautifully for Armson. Gorgeous switch, Nizam. Khan Nizam flashes across the face of goal. I don't think Nizic was ever too worried about the ball beating him, but he returns to his feet and is having firm words with Jamie Pachevsky. He's still going on with the referee. This spot by coming together off the ball not 5 minutes ago. Skipper having words with his centre half about keeping his head. They really are fire and ice, Jamie Pachevsky and Thijs Van Amerongen. Wouldn't know if Van Amerongen was 5 up or 5 down. And Pachevsky is usually pretty measured with his, shall we say, interactions with strikers. I hasn't been so in the last 10 minutes. Point sheet still being held for Sutherland, or by Sutherland, I should say, at the moment. Not really of major help to them tonight, though. It'll drag them a little bit further from the relegation scrap, but this club has higher ambitions than that. It's been a race they've become all too familiar with over the past 5 seasons, really. Since the coronavirus pandemic, they've been under threat every year. Not really in that position this time around, but not far enough away to be comfortable. Nizam winding up again. This one high and towards the near post rather than flashing wide at the far. It's a couple of times he's escaped the attention of the Sharks defence, though. That in itself will be of some worry. Still searching for his first league goal for Spirit. A lack of intent with the press, though. All the challenge on Jordan Perez. Problems with his knees, Jordan. Patellar tendons, all sorts of issues. A bit of a tread on the foot from Nizam. And shake of the hands between the two as they return to their positions. Always been the case between both sets of players this week. 15 minutes to go. Will we get a winner? Nick Olsen trying to dictate things from deep. This is deeper lying as a midfield player I've ever, or deeper lying of a midfield role as I've ever seen him play, Nick Olsen, tonight. Perez. Fuka allowed to turn, really for the first time tonight. Lays it off for Olsen. And now Shuiki. It's Richard Shuiki! What a strike! What a sound he elicits from the Sharks supports! A bolt from the blue! For the Sharks, for Sutherland! Richard Shuiki, who has chased down lost causes all evening, has caught the bumps, the bruises, had half a chance, took it with both hands, and such a sweet strike. Spirit making the changes, but Sutherland sticking with the starting 11 and reaping their reward. Tremendous noise around this place. The moment they've been waiting for, they've been craving. And it arrives with less than 15 minutes to play. One of those others, we talked about Lachlan McDonald so much this evening. There were some eyebrows raised when Shuiki was retained by David Perkovic and his coaching staff. But he is shouldering so much attacking load for them. And he likes playing this opposition. Sharks fans wanted a foul. It wasn't forthcoming. Well, didn't this game need a goal? Just to get this place engaged and alive. And to get Spirit pushing forward. They drive this ball in towards Nizic, who looked to be blocked off. He jumped above that and palmed the ball away. The Stoffy in a scrap. It's been that sort of evening. Two players coming together on the turf again. Well, Richard Shuiki, another moment for him at this ground. A fourth goal of the season for the 20-year-old. Had 6 in all comps last year. It takes his total tally in senior football to 10. Very sweet memory for him. Don't see too many balls struck on the wet turf as well as he hit that one this weekend. Can Spirit unpick the lock? They got the chocolates at home back in round 1. They are right in the mire now. And Hollingdale frustrated, although there's not much Noah Moss could do about that. That's got a promising counter-attack on the end of the road for Danny Choi. Ty McGowan, the replacement, is from around the area. His brother Jay, who was starring a couple of years ago, actually got a goal up at Christie Park that Cameron talked about. Managed to win by 3-1. Jay was a scorer that day. Tay would love to register a strike against this opposition as well. He's gone on to do great things down at Heidelberg United in the NPL Victoria. It's part of their championship campaign at the end of last year as well. So he's still trying to carve out a name of his own in the Sharks first team. 10 minutes to go and a lead to hold on to for the hosts. Given to them by Richard Shueki. Played right on the edge tonight. It's done him a world of good. Found exactly the balance. Krzyzewski, another player wired that way. Into the battle with Mustafi. Helped out by Hollingdale. Collision of all sorts of bodies right in front of the two benches. Noah Moss has blown his whistle. Free kick has gone Spirit's way. Rain is as heavy as it's been all evening. Is it pathetic fallacy for Spirits or a champagne shower from a Sharks perspective? Van hammering it into the trees that sit around the perimeter of the ground. Cornwall lining up his options. McGowan with a telling touch away from Takami. Juru back to retain possession. He might have a shooting opportunity here. A heavy touch which allowed Krzyzewski to clear. Only as far as Cornwall. Snuck up on him there, Takumi Afuka. Cries becoming more consistent as the Sutherland Sharks supporters sense 3 points. Sloppy touch from Kobayashi. PA announcer getting the juniors who are here in good number involved as well. Cornwall. All behind Takami. And there could be a release ball here for Afuka. This is where he loves to operate. One-on-one with Henderson. Olsen! Couldn't quite kill it off. Nicholas diving back heroically. Between he and Marks, they managed to turn the ball behind. But Sutherland have it down the right end now. And in no hurry to take the set piece that they've earned. Why would they be? This lead to savour. This could be one that changes the trajectory of their year. Just seem to be slipping off the boil again over the last few weeks. This victory would have them right back amongst the contenders for finals football. Hollingdale to deliver. Marks with a two-handed punch. Nizam scrapping it clear. Takami trying to run free with the ball. Nicolau just diving. Any part of his body will do. McDonald away from Juru. This one will hurt for Spirit as well. They're pulled away from Christie Park. It's not been as good as they'd like so far this year. They haven't won away from home since the end of February. Includes a loss in the Australia Cup to Shell Harbour. They did play a heavily rotated squad that night. Not a priority for them this season, given the long premiership and championship campaign a year ago, but it has just added to this narrative that not quite the travellers they were in 2025. Perez happy to launch the ball anywhere. That sends it out of danger of the goal. Sydney buses. There was no ball arriving, and then three of them came onto the pitch. Well, that has allowed time for a stoppage. Tommy Mason being brought on as Nizam comes off on the near side. He's been a late hero once this year, Mason. He'd love to add a second senior goal to his tally. Strong piece of defending from Sutherland to stop Mustafi in his tracks. Hollingdale with Petratos on his toe, and that pressure was enough to turn the ball over. Armson to Kami. Jury's taken up a wide position now. Can he deliver? Thinks better of that. Takami, always thoughtful. Returns it to Juru. Has to deliver now. Petratos' touch. Pachevsky in his back. Goes to ground. Never really an appeal for a penalty. Still the attack alive, though. Dangerous ball to the back post. Mason held out of it by Perez, who did enough. And then Afuka sweeping across to try and end the attack. Not quite done. Armson did enough to fashion a throw for his team. I told you the entertainment was coming. It's waited till the last half hour. He's arrived. Spirit chasing the game. Sharks holding on to the goal advantage given to them by Richard Shuiki's fourth goal of the season. Nicholas with support. Petratos went down with a cry. No free kick blown, and Pachevsky on the second attempt clears. Afuka scrambling to keep it in, taken off him by Cornwall. Oh, it's found Petratos. Petratos! Took a slight touch on the way over Daniel Nizic's crossbar, and so another Spirit corner. Well, that would have been a storyline to pull out of this game, just as Shueki's strike has been. Costa Petratos scored home and away against the club that signed him a year ago. Not to be yet. Another ball that's rolled into the path of Kobayashi as he readies to take this set piece. Mason was there. Petratos with a heavy touch. Hoisted clear by Afuka to cheers from Smithy's bar. It's going to be a defence against attack drill for the last 5 minutes or so. Cornwall timed his run. Saw off Perez. And won the corner. No, goal kick, says the referee. Tell you what, there's going to be an interesting amount of time added here in the pouring rain at Seymour Shore. It has not stopped all night. Spirit Juniors make some noise at Christie Park. I'm not sure they might quite the racket around this place tonight. A lot of the juniors getting involved. Great to see. Trying to give their team one last push. Even up their home record this season. They haven't drawn a game at home this year, Sutherland. They've been heroes or zeros here. Looking towards the latter, but they've still got moments to see out. Cornwall dictating, finding Takami. Armson in a wide position, delivers on his left foot. Hollingdale, it's a scrappy clearance, but effective enough at this stage. Stratos with the defender in his back. Trying to be clever. Mason knocks it on. Shuiki away. Cornwall to hoist it back in. It's too deep. It's easy for Nizic. Jamie Pachevsky's brought so much fire and brimstone to this clash across the two games this season. Calling for those in front of him to keep their heads. I'll tell you what, it's not Nizic's tidiest clearance. That's the ball slipping as he released it from his gloves. There is the agricultural method to clear. Lovely touch from Shuiki. He's had a fine second half. A crescendo of which was the goal. And now just a calm moment. See the growth of him as a player in a moment like that. Recognising the situation, just happy to keep the football. Now receiving the knockdown from McDonald. Interchanging passes with Nicolau. Keep ball good enough for Sutherland now. Perez. With Mason in hot pursuits. Lovely touch from Afuka. This might be the best football the Sharks have played this evening. It's coming in the shadows of full time. Afuka could kill it off. Oh, almost too many options. Still don't know if he decided which one he was taking by the time he struck the ball. 3 minutes indicated to be added on at the end of the 90. Kobayashi. Cornwall. Petratos. This is promising. Deflection. Oh my goodness. Nizic was beaten, had it bent under his crossbar. Hearts in mouths as it floated centimetres wide. And still Spirit's efforts are not done. Curled in near post. Headed half away. Run further away by Perez. Is this the killer blow? Will he take it to goal or to the corner? Perez is thinking corner at the moment. And that's the call from David Perkovic as well. Heeding the call of his coach. Dispossessed fairly, but might have done enough. One more substitution. Just eat up a little bit more clock. Julian Fidele will replace Takumi Afuka. Would have been one of those old changes where he would have had to run across the whole pitch a couple of years ago. It's not the case anymore. Get play restarted as quickly as possible. Positive from a Spirit perspective. Olsen with a key touch at the end of the second half. Might line up himself. Off target, but effective in any case. Cornwall's ball forward. You can feel the desperation from the Sharks players. They want this 3 points so badly to mete out a measure of revenge for their defeat in round one. And they are nearly there. Nicholas. Henderson with everybody except Chris Marks in front of him. Mason. Lovely turn from Tommy Mason. Swept away by Van Amerongen. Only as far as Cornwall. Kobayashi. Brilliant closing down from Perez, who has given mind, body and soul to the cause this evening. Perhaps one last chance. Chris Marks has been sent up from the back. Mason to take. Big responsibility on young shoulders. Get this right, son. Kobayashi couldn't flick it on. Takami left it for Nicholas. Dabbed it up in the air. Finds Armson. It's still there. Can they stick it in? Heroic from Perez again. Still their danger not clear. Mason with Perez prone on the turf and the ball is over the crossbar. Daniel Pashevsky goes to the prone body of Jordan Perez to congratulate him. Outrageous couple of defensive interventions. It's going to be sore in the morning, Jordan Perez, but it might just well be worth it. We are beyond the allotted 3 minutes. And the final whistle goes. A sense of relief, of celebration from the Sutherland players and coaching staff. They record their 4th win here of the season and mete out their revenge for the round 1 defeat at the hands of Spirit FC. Split points on the season, but a victory that takes Sutherland back into the top half and can have them dreaming of finals football over the second half of this marathon NPL New South Wales men's season. Richard Shueki's goal, the lone goal enough in the second half. His fourth strike of the campaign, shouldering that attacking burden and rewarding the faith of David Perkovic in it. Almost catching his old side. Just a point behind Spirit. They sit now, Sutherland, on the back of that result as both head into the final 14 games of their campaign. We hope you've enjoyed the coverage here from Seymour Shore. It was wet, it was wild, and it took a late winner again. But it's Sutherland who run out winners by a goal to nil.